Welcome to AKHAND Vidyashram, the first institute of impeccable wisdom. Let's talk about AKHAND PRAVIDYA, which is literally the fourth stage which I have been talking about. Asdoma Satgami, from untruth to truth, from Tamsoma Jyotirgam, from initiation or darkness to light, and from death to immortality, the third one. The fourth one I'm talking about AKHAND Vidyashram, actually that is Khandoma Akhandgami, from disintegration to integration, from zero to the divine design of nature, the DIVYANK. This is fourth level, from disintegration to integration, which is going to be fourth level. How did I reach the level of DIVYANK? How did I start from untruth to the truth, from darkness, inertia to the light, from death to immortality, to disintegration to integration, to Akhand Vidya, Akhand Pravidya, and Divyank by and large. A genuine statement I have been making in the last quite some time. The concept of impeccable wisdom of Akhand Vidyashram are founded on my personal spiritual science experiences. It's not a copy of something else. And integrate divine mathematical conviction, which is the ultimate reality of the universal consciousness, the divine mathematics, not man-made defective concepts. As we know in mathematics, physics, chemistry, and other sciences, the world talks about it. So that way is not a copy of something else, but taken the inspiration for different books, which I find perfect. In that, Sanskrit scriptures were leading in most of the way. Then, of course, many of the things which scientists have done on their own also have made an impact on my thing, have helped me to understand Sanskrit scriptures much better. Now, as I say, we started from creation. Before the creation, how was that? And that was the Shunya, dot, zero, Atma are the concept. From that to Divyank in 2015, it's been a beautiful journey of humanity by and large to come to a stage which is perfect by and large, and then talk of divine mathematics, Divyank, physics, chemistry, and other sciences, and give the impeccable wisdom for the first time hereafter, which Akhand Vidyashram is doing for the first time. I expect that everybody else to take this fundamental, do research again in physics, chemistry, and sciences, and bring the impeccable wisdom to the world. And that is the objective of Chibushan Sharma, Akhand Vidyashram, may with divinity on the whole. Now the fourth, this is my integrated place. First three were Maharishi Yajnavalkya's. This is my fourth edition, which I have gone and record to put it in my book, Akhand, an essence of universal consciousness, 2002 itself. Khando Ma Akhand Gami. We are all disintegrated. We have information lying here and there. Let's put together and make the thing as an impeccable wisdom. This is the prayer to divinity by and large. And it is also based on a question which I'm going to talk in the next one, that after doing things right up to Akhand and the sense of universal consciousness, the voice of silence of Aditi did make one thing very clear to me, that I have done a wonderful job of understanding concept very clearly and understanding ancient Indian scriptures, ancient Indian books, symbols, yantra, mantra very well. You have been able to conceive things very well. So divinity also asks the individual human being, what kind of blessings do you want? And in that thing, let me tell you, Savitri was asked the same question, and she said, I want to become pregnant, and that's it. And that is where Yama said Tathastu. And as a result, she could very intelligently make Yama to release the soul of Satyavan so that she can have the perfect husband and children through him. That was most intelligent thing which was given. Similarly, many people have asked for blessings, a grace, are vardhan of different nature. When all that is given by the different people so far, when I was asked the individual, what do you want? And when I said, I want akhandata, and the voice of silence itself said, Aditi said, this is the best thing any individual has ever asked. You are asking the entire universe to be at your fingertips. You want the knowledge of A to Z without any problem at all. And that's it. That made me write Khandoma as my prayer, not from zero to certain level, not from finding concepts, but going beyond to integrate all the knowledge which we have in the entire universe, all the people, and finally make into something which is without any fault whatsoever. It is totally akhand, akhand and akhand. And I think that has made me come to this level very clearly. Divyank is the result of that particular vardhan that give me the wisdom of entire thing within me, so that I can understand and give to the world thing by and large. I think that is something which is very true. So this is lead me for disintegration to integration. From why do this? That means all the 64 arts and sciences of the entire universe. I should know the impeccable wisdom, not just one subject which everybody knows. They make a huge column of that, and that is very limited concept for individual. Very successful people might use 4 to 5% of the potential, and it said Einstein used 11%. And I don't understand, when I have the vardhan of akhandata, why can't I use 100% and bring the world this? Maybe that's the reason I'm for the first person in the history of mankind who's able to produce 8 hertz frequency throughout 64 parts of my brain with all the senses open without any problem, and prove it to the world, something which has never been done in the history of mankind. That is the first disintegration to integration by and large. And Divyank is again questioning all the mathematical designs which the world has done and proven that they are man-made defects, and perfect is Divyank. And from that angle, this vardhan has helped me to come to this stage, and I say this is my fourth edition, my integrated prayer, and let's accept it. From that first step, I do know for integration, you have a horizontal line of one subject which people use. I'm bringing 64 subjects on that. Second step is to do the vertical heightening, which people use it in vertical heightening in one part. They go up to maybe 4-5% as such and achieve a pinnacle in that line. Very few people go beyond that. But if you do all the 64 arts and go up and then integrate the vertical and horizontal together, you get to 100%, and that is the impeccable wisdom of life I am talking about. It has taken me many years after getting the vardhan of akhandata to move towards that, and in the process I do agree. From 2004 or 2005, as I told you in the last video, I am literally living alone and doing things on my own, because that's the dialogue between me and Aditi at home, and of course Mata Vaishno Devi, Gayatri, Durga, Adi Prashakti, and all the divinities by and large. I am able to communicate very well, and that communication, a super conscious desire to live alone, do everything myself at home, A to Z. And I think that is medicine, because I need that particular calm and quiet solace to have a healthy dialogue and not get into any problem, because the world will not understand. Someone can have such a healthy interpretation, experiences, and all those experiences which I have tried to explain to the world were never accepted, because it was beyond the comprehension of every human being. Because people have got used to certain things which they read, which is highly defective. They try to judge based on that. Nobody has the intelligence to look beyond As a matter of fact, they say you look to horizon, and I make it one thing very, very clear. Horizon is the starting part of my journey. It is Ashtanga Yoga which controls the mind, not the Atma. Atma is the ninth and 10th in AKHAND Yoga, then AKHAND Vidya. Here everything is so high, you are literally beyond everything. And then in it, that concept, you are trying to look at the entire world from absolute wisdom. You see relativity in between has a problem all over the world, and democratization part, diplomacy is a part, and all the people are trying to show themselves one better other than. This competition, which is unwanted, uncalled for, is making people divide into violence, untruths, and all the bad problems we need to come out with. So that result, I have to keep a low profile and share this without really getting into any problem, but managing all the affairs myself with diet control myself without looking up to anyone by and large. I think that is again when I say Amrit life, immortal life on your own, not needing anybody to do, and living by yourself, understanding concept within has made a difference to me, and that's the reason since 2004 I've been living alone and managing things, love of it, because we need to give the world impeccable wisdom by and large. From that point of view, I'm coming back to again, which I said in the last three and many other things. First 4 decades of my life was exemplary academic education and profession. But as I told you, I was unaware of the meticulous guidance of the voice of silence of the soul from within the body. I agree. Like everybody else, I thought my Shakti, my devotion for divinity, for me the Mata Vaishno Devi, was the one who was giving me. And I was very happy getting something inside and giving the answers automatically without even experiencing within the body. Is also true. But I do know this is a result of so many janmas which I have gone through. And Korn Shrira of my Antaratma, Aditi, has all the blueprint or password to the past which I had done. And that stage when I come, I understand that and give to the world what I have already done. So that is much easier for me to understand ancient scriptures, ancient symbols, ancient tantra of Akhand Bharat much more easily, because I have always preferred to be in tune with Nirankar Nirgun Brahman, Sakar Sargun Brahman. As a Brahman is what has made me a difference. So I live. But then time had come for genuine experience after 40 years of work, because I was quite well versed with divine mathematics, not knowing as a Divyank, but perfection was part. Same perfection in physics, same perfection in chemistry, same perfection in biology, and every subject. Maybe that was the time initiation for spiritual science. I'm going to show you, take you this quickly through those experiences which I went through from spiritual science initiation, just glimpses of one. You have read it, you're going to see it. That the first spiritual initiation, 1st January 1991, was after breakfast, and the experience was the movement of Kundalini from Manipura chakra to Anhata through vagus nerve was a phenomenal concept which gave me the awareness within the body. Then second thing, experience of 5 levels of thing, from Bhumi to water to Agni to Vayu to Akash, from Mooladhara to Vishuddhi itself. I could see the light within me, and that is something which I have written it very clearly in end of 92 itself. Then having the experience of 10 chakras, and also Ida, Pingla and Sushmana, and also the experience of Vahini Nadi, which Satchakra Nirupana is talking about, which is a shield around the brain and the spinal cord, which exactly resembles like maze of Hanuman. That is the beauty of testosterone converting estrogen and giving the power to have the perfect physical body, RBC, oxygen, muscles, and also intelligence which are all associated with testosterone and estrogen, gave me the experience and moved on to the higher. But of course, I have experienced that even before that. That is there. And that is something which happened in 93. And this is a picture after that 4 days intense program of Swami Sukhotananda near Bangalore mountain area was phenomenal. You can see the light around my body and also light on top of my head. That's a phenomenal experience of understanding how chakras work and how they rotate in clockwise for energizing, anti-clockwise that, and also made me realize why I go around Navagraha 9 times clockwise and then come one to balance it. And unless that you do that, only then you can be in tune with universal consciousness. Similarly, all the planet like sun is going around in clockwise for energizing, but earth goes around the sun in anti-clockwise and moon goes around the earth in anti-clockwise. Because they have the energy, they have to reduce it, not over energize. I think that was another beautiful experience within my body, and also of the moon, earth and sun as such, which I could experience and I have given it. Now, having Ashtanga Yoga to control the mind and come to Samadhi state is a phenomenal which brings us to spindle script. But ninth, understanding chakras, then taking Kundalini or Adhiti into the Brahmanadi within the central canal and then moving on to ventricles of the brain of the 10th step of Antar Yoga, of AKHAND Yoga, where I realize now I can see the light Adhiti within my eyes. And most of the people find it only 2 dimensions to be seen, length and breadth. Even third dimension is difficult for people. Fourth is much more difficult. But I can see 10 dimensions in the brain of anything, including floaters, which is much more powerful than electronic microscope itself. I think that gave me the knowledge of why reptilians' brain or money has a phenomenal power of observation or makes you very, very high on the whole. I think that experience transferred that thing way back in 1995. And based on that, the EEGs which are produced, which are part of my PhD work, I could produce alpha frequency of lower frequency with eyes open compared to anybody else in the world. This is a PhD work that shows, particularly the concentration on the brain, which is samadhi, power on the total power, as well as alpha power with our open eyes is phenomenal compared to what you see down of a person, anybody other than me. Thousands of people, but nobody could bring alpha after opening eye, and that is what neuroscientists of the world are saying it. So when come to the whole question, this is a testimonial by Professor Namachwayam to give me how he had known me for 4 decades, how wonderful work is done by me on my own. He was only observing things as it is moving. I am thankful to him to let me do things in a way, and he was only to say whether it's acceptable scientifically or not, and I think that is phenomenal. Now comes the question of intuition, which I asked the Atma. How come I am able to produce alpha frequency with opening the eyes when nobody else is going? And that question was put to Mata Vaishno Devi for a scientific answer way back in the maybe April, May of 1995 itself, after the experience, after seeing the EEG sensor. And that is the time when the voice of silence started coming up. And that is what Aditi is. And say, welcome, you have come back home. Now there is a divine plan. Just listen to carefully and follow that very clearly. This goes back to 1995 itself. This is 30 years back. A command from voice of silence, Aditi or Kundalini. You have been chosen. Now listen to that and do work very well. And what was the first instruction? To make a charitable trust. AKHAND Foundation was made on 3rd October 1995, registered the next day. Second was to make a logo for AKHAND Foundation. And when I made this logo after 9-10 steps, Aditi told me, stop it, you have done it. And I said, it's very simple. He said, no, it's a graphic presentation, Gayatri Mantra for the first time in the history of mankind. I think that was phenomenal. Next day I went and learnt everything about Gayatri Mantra from different books, and I was pleasant to say everything found in 10 books could be done with this particular symbol. Now how from that movement, from that stage, from 1995 to PhD work and to choosing other 7 steps, how I understood everything, and the same symbol is there without changing the symbol. Things were added new as I started learning A, B, C and went up to X, Y, Z over 7 years, listening to my Antaratma and asking her, you give me everything, and then I will do, I'll understand, relate it with the scientific work and look for perfection, add that as a symbol into this particular symbol. So this symbol is the only one which I need to explain A to Z of 64 arts throughout the universe without any difficulty at all. That was the greatest thing, and it was published in 2002, the book. And no wonder after that only 2004 came, and then move on to the next stage after the book. Now come to the question in this particular thing, how the disintegration to integration started thereafter. Now question comes up is, now we have to find the divine mathematics as perfect the day nature had designed. As I have gone and said again and again, whenever we are in difficulty, we always towards upstairs, nature, because tell us why this, because the nature is perfect, whereas everything in the earth is imperfect. When we are imperfection, automatically Antaratma makes us look up to the upstairs, and that is genuine gesture I have seen is everybody look up. That means there is a strength God there, there is a nature there, and this is the picture of that which is a. So this particular picture is of the spiral galaxy, and this is how the world knows it as a Fibonacci sequence. That's it. That's the first point. Divine mathematics is this particular ratio of Fibonacci sequence. Let's understand that so that we understand the divine mathematics completely. How from zero, foregoing all the defects, we come to DIVYANK step by step. Now Fibonacci for the sequence at this 1, 0, 1, 1, 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, 34, 59, 89, 44 goes on, because that third number is the equivalent to the preceding two. This was first conceived by Pingala in 450 BC. That means literally 2500 years ago. He called it Misrauch. Two numbers are mixed. The Birvanka called it viration tooth. But I am glad Leonardo Pisa of the West called it Fibonacci sequence in 1202, and as a result he made it available to the West. It's very unfortunate that Indian concept, which is phenomenal, are not popular to the world. We are popular to the world is only Western thoughts. Whatever they say is accepted, whatever we say is taken as a mockery. But I am glad he has done it. But I am very thankful to Leonardo Pisa. He said it very clear, it has come from India, India, India alone. And the really it is a hidden golden ratio of 1.61 in this. Let's move on to understand that concept very clearly. Fibonacci called his Indian series by himself. He said, I have taken the inspiration from Indians only. He did not call it his discovery. He gave it his own way to make it popular to the West, saying that it's Indian in origin. Then Brahmins conceived the divine mathematics. They taught it to Zoroastrian. Zoroastrian taught it to Arabs. Arabs taught to the West, and West made a defective thing, and which unfortunately we are learning. And this is the defects of the world, which I need to change it now. Defective, man-made concepts, which are absolutely, even Einstein people are found to be defective because everything is based on defects. We need DIVYANK to rechange. Now, the particular description in this is a beautiful example is a tree. All these things are very clearly seen. You have seen it. This is first step. The second thing, you see the same thing in aloe vera. You see the same thing in pine cone. And you see the same thing in lily flowers. These are the examples from the art which I have seen since my childhood before learning ABC. Gave me the knowledge how beautiful are these picture. I still remember the nature design was the one which taught me divine mathematics, because I could see the minute things like Arjuna, who could see the eye of the parrot, not the bird. You should have that precise, that small part of each thing you should be in a position to see. And I think this was a beautiful thing in my life. That's I said, 7 years, let the brain develop. See, observe nature with the help of Aditi, not with a man-made concept, and confuse yourself with the defective knowledge. And unfortunately, we are forcing children to learn defects, and they find it difficulty there because they are fed with it. Unlearning and relearning is very, very difficult. And that is the reason I want people to understand DIVYANK and learn that only from the very beginning with a perfection, so they don't have to unlearn when they do research again. This was the concept. Now the same thing you can see in hand and bone, same structure which seen there, which was also my discovery. And then this is the picture which finally of sunflower, you get it. You can see the picture of same moon as such, or the spiral galaxy as such, or the whole mathematical design which is there in this was the first turning point to see the precision one and large. Now this is again picture, you can see Fibonacci sequence starting from 1, but here I little more than what I've shown earlier. But this is sequence which is given, but in this sequence what you find is Golden ratio emerging as 1.618. 1.618 is a 1. This is one form of golden ratios number which comes from Fibonacci sequence, which is starting point of divine mathematics. But then this is also true only up to this extent, nothing more than that. Now come to the question of golden ratio is something which is accepted in the world, is a perfect design of nature, and they called it golden ratio, and I will look for divine golden ratio, Divyank Anupat. And I think that is the picture which I have shown, sun and moon and spiral galaxy as such. These are part of my videos. When I look at that whole formula, this is the golden ratios examples given in mathematics, that a line divided by two parts, the longer part divided by the shorter part equal the whole length divided by. These are different descriptions given. In other words, all that sum it up to is 1.618 is the number of golden ratio. This is one thing which is precise, concise, to the point. And this is accepted by student school very clearly. 1.618 is a golden ratio. But then comes the question of divine, same Western mathematicians as such, and I make it very clear. They are the one who gave this man-made formula. I said mathematics concept is a man-made. 1 plus square root of 5 divided by 2 is a mathematical number they used to get the number which is 1.618033988749895. So it's giving infinite number of digits, and they take pride in finding more and more numbers. That's the question which I raised up. 1.618 is too simple to be perfect, and this particular thing is too long to be of any application or perfection. Both are defects. And that's the time my first question came to my mind. It is divine mathematics, the most approximate decimal value should be small digits, not long, not too short. And let's look for how things would appear as we move on. Now that I have the Vardhan of Akhandata, I can get anything from Antaratma, I can get anything from Mata Vaishno Devi, from Adi Prashakti, Adi Gayatri, or for that matter, entire universe is within me now. Let me see how I use that as a Vardhan to give Divyank. Now I am very clearly saying the first inverse golden ratio decimal value of 0.618034 was used by Michael Massinov way back in 1597 AD itself. He had written that to Kepler, as such, who was his student way back. But no one explored, enumerated, explained this concept at all. It's very unfortunate. Had they really looked at his intuitive knowledge of 0.618034 is the inverse value of golden ratio, I think the answer would have been 1,000 times better by now. But I'm sorry to say, when you are chosen for something, someone other than who understands the whole concept much more clearly has to do it. I think that job was to give it back to Shibhushan Sharma with the foundation in AKHAND Vidyashram and of course ancient Sanskrit language, and it has to come from that step by step to the world to find that. Anyway, this is something which was very could have been taken. But now this picture is there, shape of DIVYANK rectangle. Now I'm starting the point to take you how I explored the number in stages. Because you have to be a mathematician, the research has to be very conscientious, point by point, without any difficulty at all. It's not a philosophical concept. It has to be seen and analyzed at every stage how you have moved from defective periphery to the perfect core value step by step has to be in stages. This is the first stage of exploring DIVYANK rectangle. Upper picture of sunflower and second picture of Fibonacci sequence, both have identical. Now I am going to make DIVYANK rectangle as I understand as an Indian. I made a square of 100 into 100 as the first step. That's the first picture which I made to explore DIVYANK rectangle itself. So 100 into 100 is square. Now how it gets converted into 100 into 1618034, I am going to take you on the journey with that. This is the first step. Second step is divided the whole thing into two components, 50 into 100, 50 into 100, that line in between, into two rectangles as such, square to two rectangles as such. The second step. Third step is what I've seen in the picture of ancient Indian scriptures. Put a line between the right rectangle, top, and the left bottom, right top, left bottom line put together, which is hypotenuse, which is according to Pythagoras, like that. And that particular thing made me first get the value of that. Now you have 50, you have 100. Now what could be the third line are in this hypotenuse? 50 into 50 is into 2500, 100 into 100 is 1 lakh, 2500 plus 10,000 put together is 12,500. Square root of 12,500 is 111.8034. So thereby it was easy for me to find the value of hypotenuse as 111.834. I think that was the first enlightening experience of converting into divine mathematics using simple mathematical techniques, which India is very good at it. And I'm very sorry to say, Western don't even know how to add 1 and 1 and 2. They are very bad in mental mathematics. Whereas Indians are very good in mental mathematics. We can do any amount of addition, subtraction, multiplication, division in the brain without the help of any paper and other thing. This is our strength. And that strength made me conceive this concept very clearly in the mental itself. Because prepared in the mind and then put into the picture YLR. Second thing, then based on that, I put a line on that and converted into a picture. You can see a rectangle. 50 plus 111 is equal to 161.80. 100 I have already known. 161.8034 is the fourth step. And that made the picture very clear. Now I know what is the value of DIVYANK rectangle. And then put together the final picture is 100 into 161.8034. These are dimensions which I talked about in spiral galaxy and Fibonacci sequence. It is not 1.618, it is 1.618034. I think that was the turning point. This was first enlightening thing. But then anything which is divine mathematics should have multi-dimensional perfection. It is not something in one way is there, but it has to be in every way possible to produce it. So this number is right, wonderful, there is no problem. Now this same picture I have put into this for people to look at it again, how I have conceived it, for people to see how easily it could be done. If I have managed to do it with Akhandata as such, as a Vardhan from divine nature, Aditi and all the divinities, and I'm sure we all have Aditi within ourselves. We start listening to instead which is truthful, honest otherwise. But unfortunately we are copying others and we are bad in copying itself. This is the first step, very clear as far as dimensions are concerned. Now come to the question of 10 stages of DIVYANK to see. So I have put 100, I have put as the first step, 100 into 100 is first step as such, and put a semicircle line as you can see in this as the first step. Then second, you make another same thing within that 61.80, this is 100, 61. So in 61 you put another line as the same thing as you can see in this particular picture. The third line I put is a 38.166. First is 100, second is 61.8034, third is 38.1966. Fourth comes is 23.61868 was the fourth unit, and fifth is 14.5898. That's altogether. These all are divided by 61.8034 only. That is one number which I am using it, and I call it the infinity number. And this is the fifth step, division of 100 by 61, and each number by 61.8034 is like that. Sixth level, it is 9.017034 is the stage you can see. Seventh you can see is 5.5728 as such, the next step. Then come to the eighth step, 3.4442 is the next unit. Ninth is 2.2186 is the ninth step. And 10th is 1.318083156 is the unit. Very clearly division by 61.80 each one. Up to that you come very close to 1. I think these are the 10 steps of stages of development which I am talking about. And this shows how the inverse 100 divided by 61.80, 10 steps you come to the close to 1. But when you go to the 11th step, it becomes less than 1. That means you have to stop with 10, and little more than 10 is the required number of developing. This is the question which I have raised now. How did nature develop it is the question. I am not talking about man-made concept of 1 point square root of 5 divided by 2 as a mathematics, which is a man-made defective model. And I say again and again and again, it's defective. It's not what nature talked about it. But here you have 10 stages of development. You know the number is 1.618034, and then 10 stages of development plus something more. So 2 steps ahead, and I think that was the enlightening point, that 10 reducing stages are there, that 10 stages of development are there, are involution or evolution both. And I represented the same thing in this particular picture. You can see very clearly I have come to that stage. But here also I say divine constant of 61.80, which is infinity constant I am talking about, which I am going to talk about it as we move on to this particular stage to little further. Now come to the question. We are going to now go and find the perfect number of 10 plus, which is 10.34419, is something which is unique in the history. But as I know very well, the first stage of creation is 22 by 21, which nature told me very clearly is the Brahma, which is pi, 22 by 7. 1/3 of that is 22 by 21. That knowledge of 22 by 21 is found in many of the Upanishads as such creation. Solar system is made of 21 parts. To go beyond is 22 parts. I have given the examples. The earth is made of 7 parts. Antariksh is made of 7 parts. There are 7 heavens. There are 7 days. There are 21. To go to that. Same thing I have shown in mathematics. RBC are 21 microns, they increase to 24, they go through 10 stages formation to come to that stage. And same thing in other places I've shown, whether it is cell, RBC and everything, there is only development like that. The beginning part is 22 by 21 was well known to me by 2002 itself very clearly. As a matter of fact, in 2002 itself, the book I have talked about 22 by 21 to the power of 10 very clearly. But 0.344 took me another 12 years to find it true. Now, how did I find? Let's come to this particular stage. You have put 21 into the square itself. Then I created 22 by 21. The first stage of division is the first orbit of 22 and 21, and that is what neon 21 I am talking about. I think that was the precise as the first step, which nobody can deny. This is divine mathematics found in Upanishads, found in all the books of Akhand Bharat in Sanskrit scriptures very clearly. Then I developed that again step by step. The first stage, then second stage, third stage, fourth stage, fifth stage, sixth stage, seventh stage, eighth stage, ninth stage, 10th stage. But then it doesn't reach last. There is still a space available. That means we need to find that number again. We have come to the stage that 22 by 21 to the power of 10 was known to me way back in 2002, which is there in the Akhand and Essence of Universal Consciousness book I talked about. But to go further to find this number, I had to go a little further. Now that number is something is very clear. Now let's design how to go about it. And that information I have given in this picture very clearly. This is how it has come to the number. And in the process of all the scriptures which I have talked about were very, very clear. So right up to 22 by 21 to the power of 10 was very clear. There is something more than that which had to be found out. After 2002, and going to Sri Mata Vaishno University for 3 years, and then coming back to Chennai in 2009, and in Chennai, after learning in a medical college, teaching medical students, doing research of different nature, being in tune with universal consciousness, records which I created were phenomenal. But there again, what happened, let me share now, how when you are looking for Akhandata, you have Vardhan of Akhandata, then nature will show you the way, and I make it very clear. You need to have faith in divinity. You have unflinching faith, only the nature will teach you, will not teach you unless until you have the faith. Is the first thing which I learned. For me, Bhakti Yoga is the first prime factor. There is a divinity which is complete. I am not an atheist. I do believe, and once you are pure, 100% pure, as perfect as the nature, nature will tell you systematically, step by step, and this is a result of that. Now come to the question of finding. I have found the Brahmank 22 by 21. Vishnu Ank as a 10 stages already were known even in 2002 in that book which was published first. Now to Shivank, the third stage or end of maturation, took me many years to do. But how did I find it? Let me now explain the concept very clearly. As I found this picture of Gayatri, lotus is like 22 by 21, 10 thing. But head, she has got 5 heads, Panchabhutas. That means one question was very clear, that there should be 5 digits only, not more than 5 digits. That was clear in this picture of Gayatri. And also the Shivas, Panchabhutas is also same thing, where she has got 10 arms and 5 snakes and 5 heads on the back. So this means there should be only 5 digits, not more than 5 digits as the last number. That one thing was very clear. Then I had a professor, Govindarajulu, who was a statistician and of course my senior, and of course someone from Madras University. He was the guide of many of my friends, my associates otherwise, and he had come to their, again, divine plan. He had to help because he is the only person very conscientious, very honest in doing his work very clearly. And I respect him for that. Both of us sat together on IBM SPS software version 21. I had the number given to him, 1.618034. Now you are going to put a number of 22 by 21 to the power of 10. Then we start looking for the digits, for the 5 digits after 10. Let's work it out. 2 days we sat together meticulously, and at the end of 2 days the number which came out was 0.34419. What is interesting, 34419 is also again 21. I think that was amazing. That's why I started. My God, divinity is so perfect. Come whatever it may be, at every level is going to be the same story. And that made me understand this is the divine mathematics. And that number which came up together is 22 by 21 to the power of 10.34419 was well accepted by 2014 and 2015 itself. Let me also tell you, a reward of this particular thing was also my promotion. When I came to Chettinad in 2009, I was given the position of a tutor in Department of Physiology with 35,000 rupees. But the work which I did for the next 5 years was phenomenal. First synopsis was produced that period by Prasanna Naik. First thesis by him, first result by him. He produced 9 articles and all of them cited, and 6 are the Globus, was a record for any new university by and large. And nature also is very clear. If you're following nature, nature will also show the others. The person who's following nature has a phenomenal result. When I look at my academic data A to Z from childhood to today, the results of result is only because nature wants me to be seen as a perfect one with the results perfect, healthy, wealthy, wise and happy. And that is what I talked about it. And the result is this, phenomenal at every level. Now come to the question of Divyank. The divine design of nature, I've come to this 22 by 21, the power of 10. This is the first stage of creation is Brahma, as I told you, 10th stage is Vishnu, third is this. This is a particular number. This is most approximate decimal value of that. And 1.6 is a perfect A to Z, and conceived and revealed in 2015 by Shibhushan Sharma is well recorded here. Now I am going to show you something what is unique about this Divyank. Divyank is 1.61, number you have seen, but this again is divided into 100 plus 161.8034 or 38.1966% plus 61.82. This could be a Divyank ratio, perfect one. Perfect means real perfect. Now what is interesting in this, when these two numbers are put together, they add up to exact 100, which is not seen in any other ratio at all. There is no perfection in Fibonacci sequence, there is no perfection anywhere else. The consistency you see in Divyank ratio is not seen in any ratio in the world. And the square of the first one, second part 61.80, is equivalent to 100 times the value of the first part. That is amazing. Then this particular thing is infinity in this particular thing is 61.803. Although Ramanujan is given for man who knew infinity right up to 100 and 200, but beyond that is defective, because in man-made concept he was talking about. But this is divine mathematics. 61.8034 is perfect and nobody can find fault with it. And the design down done by somebody else, but you see the same number in the same ratio in that. You can see the red line, you can see green line, you can see blue line, you can see violet line, exactly the same ratio of 61.8034. I think that was a phenomenon. Having done that step by step, you have literally come to the stage of nowhere to the perfect Divyank, which is perfect, and that is with this subject we need to do research again in physics, chemistry, medical sciences, and I have already given you a lot of examples to start, and I am going to continue to do that in my way and leave behind the legacy, so the researcher hereafter look up to Akhand Vidyashram, Divyank, Divyank ratio, Divyank sequence, Divyank infinity, and then do the research again and produce the knowledge which is perfect for each and every one, so no student in the world would have any confusion. And I do believe today's defects in the world is because our education is defective. And education is defective because whatever we are teaching is defective. Each one is trying to give it his own version and say my knowledge is better than your knowledge. This is a fight. Why do you know? Why should knowledge be defective? That's my question. And in my 70 years of journey, I've come to this stage, and I'm to show the how we can talk of perfection hereafter with Divyank in the entire universe and show at every stage. And one of the example which I've already given, Nernst equation, there's log of 61 used, but nobody knows why log of 61 is used. But it should be 61.8034, and it is the water content which is there. And it's only water which brings sodium or potassium inside, outside, or calcium, or for that matter, sodium or potassium ratio as such is with water, and water concentration 61.8, and that is Amrit. So these kind of questions, concepts which have not been explained, I am going to talk about, and that is what I have been talking about. There is uniformity in the world, let us accept. For that means 7 days, 7 planets is consistent east as the west, north and south, because they are the sun, Monday, Mars, Mercury, Jupiter, Venus and Saturn. As such, there is uniform. We need to bring that uniformity where there is consistency between the west and east independently. I see that in 7 days, I see in zodiac signs, I see in Rashis, I do see in Navagrah, Navaratri, and the consistency. It is not 7 chakras, 10 plus chakras and other things. I think that is the wisdom which cannot be found, fault come what may, because that's supported by divine mathematics or Divyank alone. With that, I think move on to the next stage. And this particular picture is exactly the summation of whole thing. And this is something which I told you, I learned the top picture in Mata Vaishnava, improvised it and added the Western and Indian concept and put together entire universe in this particular picture. I think that speaks volumes. And with that volume, we'll go on to the stage step by step to show how beautiful is the divine consciousness, how perfect is Divyank, why Divyank is divine, constant by and large. And thank you very much. Thank you.